A felony charge can end a career, even without a conviction. Stefon Diggs is facing serious criminal allegations involving assault and strangulation. But the question I care about isn't outrage, it's proof. Because in criminal court, accusations don't decide cases. Evidence does. And when evidence is thin, the law does not lean in to help it stand. Today, I'm not ruling on what happened. I'm ruling on whether the publicly reported evidence is enough to overcome reasonable doubt. Now, what are the facts? Stefon Diggs, a wide receiver for the New England Patriots, has been charged in Massachusetts with felony strangulation or suffocation, along with a misdemeanor assault charge. The charges stem from an alleged incident involving a woman who reportedly worked as Diggs' personal chef. According to public reporting, the allegation arose after a dispute over money she claims Diggs owed her. She then accused Diggs of striking her and attempting to choke her. She did not initially press charges, but later reported the incident to police, at which point charges were filed. Diggs has denied the allegation. No jury has heard evidence. No findings of fact have been made. And at this stage, the difference between an allegation and a conviction is not outrage. It's verification. From the prosecutor's perspective, the allegations are serious and specific. Strangulation charges receive heightened attention because of the potential for serious harm. Prosecutors may argue that delayed reporting does not undermine credibility and that victims often hesitate before coming forward. They may also argue that a financial dispute explains the context of the encounter, not the alleged violence itself. At early stages, an accuser's account may be enough to proceed, but proceeding is not the same as proving. A defense attorney would likely argue this case is about money first, not violence. They will point to the unpaid dispute and the timing of the complaint. And yes, of course, the lack of evidence. Based on public reporting, there are no photographs documenting the injuries. There is no reporting that the alleged victim sought medical attention, no emergency room visit, no medical records described. There are no eyewitnesses, no surveillance footage, no third-party corroboration whatsoever. And there is no public reporting that Diggs admitted to any assault in text or in messages. The reported communications relate to a financial dispute, not an admission of violence. Now, let's cross-examine the accusation. One test I always use with jurors in cases like this is simple. When there's a possible motive, you verify before you convict. Here, the defense would point to an alleged payment dispute, not as proof the allegation is false, but as a reason the jury must demand independent verification. Take the accusation out of the room. What is actually left on the table? Where is the physical documentation consistent with strangulation? Where are the medical findings? Where are the witnesses, the video, the contemporaneous reporting? Without physical evidence, medical corroboration, eyewitness testimony, surveillance, or admissions, this case turns almost entirely on competing accounts. And that leads to a basic principle of criminal law. Allegations standing alone are not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And now the law. In criminal court, the burden of proof never shifts to the accused. The prosecution must prove every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Strangulation cases often rely on corroboration precisely because the allegations are serious and the consequences are severe. The presumption of innocence is not a courtesy. It is the foundation the entire system stands on. Here's how I would rule, based strictly on the public available record. This is not a judgment about credibility. It is a judgment about the evidence. And evidence is what the law requires, not what emotion demands. At this stage, there is no publicly reported physical documentation of any injury, no medical corroboration, no eyewitnesses, no surveillance footage, and no admissions by the accused. The allegations arise in the context of a reported financial dispute. The prosecution may argue that that dispute is motive, but the defense attorney would argue it creates a reason for heightened scrutiny. not a substitution for proof. On the public record as it stands, this is a statement-based case with limited independent corroboration reported so far. Under the law, that matters. So, based solely on what has been publicly reported, the evidence would not yet be sufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In closing, criminal court is not a forum for belief. It is a forum for proof. And when proof is missing, the law does not guess. That is not leniency. That's justice. Thanks for watching. If you want more legal analysis without the fluff, please subscribe. And remember, the truth matters, and so does reasonable doubt. See you in the next case.